And, one of the things that you mentioned in your sermon that I honestly had never thought about, and it just really struck me, was you can be a man who's never been divorced and you are not loving your wife well.
You're not a one-woman man.
Exactly. So it doesn't, so it goes beyond just he's never been divorced, which is a view that I've held, and was taught to hold for a long time. But there's just so much depth there. It's more than just, here's the cliff, and if you take one step beyond the cliff, well, that's it, you're done. But it envelops a lot more of being a Christ honoring, Christ following husband.
Yeah, if the qualification is simply that you've never been divorced, then the qualification could simply be you have a wife who endures a lot and puts up with you.
And my wife puts up with a whole lot.
Sure. But it's more than you happen to have a wife who will endure, and this guy wasn't lucky enough to have a wife that endures your constant barrage of whatever. It is that you love her well. You love her like Christ loves the church. You're an example to the flock.
And she willingly and joyfully submits to you as Christ does, or as the church does to Christ.
Right. Yeah. So also as we consider this issue of marriage, one woman man, as you look at all of these qualities, their qualities are characteristics of a person that are present, as we said before. And in all of the other ones, we don't say that if a person was ever not that they're disqualified. It's what are you now? Mm-hmm. But this is the one exception that many people take. If you've ever been divorced, then it doesn't matter what you are now. There's this thing, and it disqualifies you forever. And if you do that, then you put this one characteristic, this one quality in a category by itself that does not fit any of the other categories. And so presently, do you love your wife, assuming you're married? Are you a one-woman man?
Yeah, and and one other question specifically regarding the question of divorce is, if a man was divorced before he was a believer, the scripture is clear, once you become a believer, you are a new creation. And so obviously we would not expect him to have a perfectly healthy, Christ-honoring marriage before he was converted. But after conversion, yes. So yeah, present reality, just like we talked about before. So one of the things that we really want to emphasize as we wrap this episode up is that these are the standards that God has given us. We are not at liberty to lower that standard, nor are we at the liberty to be more severe in the standard than God is.
Yeah, so lowering the standard, perhaps easy to see. We don't want to take these and say, but there are exceptions to these standards. But being more severe, how could we be more severe? Well, one would be to expect perfection. Blameless sounds like perfection, but there is no one who is perfect except for Christ. We understand we're sinful, fallen people, and pastors are sinful, fallen people. And if you don't think that, then there's a whole other conversation, because you're putting men on pedestals to where they don't belong.
They have feet of clay.
Absolutely. So it's not speaking about perfection. And so we want to hold the standard and say he must be above reproach without taking it to a higher level than that God didn't mean for us to take it to. So how do we do that? And that's where I think what Calvin said is so helpful. We're looking for a man who is not dismissing his authority. He's not giving away his authority by a life that you look at and say, no, I cannot follow that man.